Greetings Wargamers, today I'm going to show you how to make another set of fences for your gaming tables. In last week's video I showed you how to make some cheap and easy security fences to add some details to your gaming tables. Well, this week I'm going to show you 4 more versions that use some more materials and are a little more complicated, but will add even more details to your tables. So let's head over to the bench and get started. To start things off, I'm going to show you how to make a combination of a concrete barrier and a security fence like we made last week. This style of fencing is perfect for the centre of roads or for the perimeter of places like car parks. We're going to start off with a piece of blue polystyrene that I've cut to length using the template guide, which will be available as a PDF in the video description. This piece is 2 cm tall by 12 cm long, and it is 10mm or 1 cm deep. Once you've got the base piece cut, it's time to start building the fence, and to do this we're going to follow the method that we used last week of using barbecue skewers. You want to begin by taking 2 or 3 barbecue skewers, and what we're going to do is we're going to measure out 6.5 cm from the point of the skewer on 2 of them. And just do it all the way around. Like so. And do that on 2. After measuring out 6.5 cm from the point of 2 of our skewers, you're going to take a pair of clippers and just snip them off. Next, what we want to do is we want to mark about 1.5 cm up from the point of the skewer. With the marks made on the skewers, next thing we're going to do is we're going to stand up our piece of foam and we want to find the centre line along the thin part of the foam. With the centre line drawn, now we're going to make a mark 5mm in from each end. Now what you want to do is take your skewers and push them in to the mark you've made, 5mm in from each end, up to the depth marker that you've made 1.5 cm from the point of the skewer. And you want to make sure to try and do this as straight as possible and just push it into the foam like that. And do that on both ends. Like that. So they have 2 posts. With the post cut, it's time to cut out the cross pieces. The best way I find to do this is to use the posts themselves to measure them out. So we're just going to take one of the skewers, find the flat end, and then we're going to place it on the bottom. I think we'll start. So just put it in place on the bottom, and then just roughly work out how long to use it. This skewer is a little bit bent, so I'm going to go from the other side, which is also bent. This one's better, there we are. So we'll start at the bottom and place it in place, grab hold and just trim. What you're looking for is to be able to push fit it in. I cut that one a little bit short, but that's not a problem. And just take another piece, snip off the end to get a nice straight end. Take another piece and cut that one a little bit longer. So try that. So just try and push fit it in place first. There we are. What you're aiming for is one that will hold in place with friction, but that isn't so long that it pushes the uprights outwards. And all you need to do is lay it down on your template and use the template to position the cross piece in the right place. So that looks about right. Let me just check. Yeah, that looks at about the right height. So now it's time to glue it in place. And to do this, we're going to use super glue and a super glue activator spray. The activator spray isn't necessary. You can do this without it. It just takes a while for the glue to dry and you need to hold it in place. So all you need to do is pop a dab of glue at the join of each, and then take your spray and spray on, and then that'll set it in place. Do the same for the other side to make sure it's got a nice strong join. Dab of glue on each side, and then activator spray, and then that'll be set in place. And all we need to do is repeat the process for the top piece. With the frame cut out, it's time to add the fence itself. Now you can use either car mesh or corrugated cardboard for this, but for the tutorial we're going to be using the mesh. So what you want to do is you want to use the face template here to measure out your mesh. So we'll do that now. So just take the mesh and line it up with the template and just mark out the lines using a felt tip or a permanent marker. And then once the lines are marked, take a pair of scissors and just trim out the mesh. Like so. To add the fence to the frame, we're going to follow the method that we used last week of using clamps to hold it in place and then add in super glue. So to begin, we're just going to place the fence onto the frame where we'd like it, about there, and then just add a few clamps on each side. Try and not to bend the fencing, like that. Same on the other side. And if you can see, on each end I've got a little bit of overhang. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap that around the fence post. What that'll do is it will make it easier for the glue to adhere. So just do that, same at the top. Any overlap, just push it over gently with your hands, careful not to spike yourself, like that. And take your glue and run a bead along the corners like so, and take your activator spray and tack it in place, and do this all the way around. With the fencing added to the frame, the next step is to add the corner supports. And to do this we're going to use a coffee stirrer, and you'll see that there are 4 marks in the corners. All you need to do is line your stirrer up with one and then use a pen to just mark the angles where it will intersect with the frame. Don't need to be exact for this. And once you've done that, just take a pair of clippers and just snip off the corner support like so. And just do this for all 4 pieces. Once all 4 pieces are cut, it's time to add them to the frame. Now what we're going to do for this is we're just going to take one of the pieces, push fit it into place on the frame, like so. Then we're going to take our super glue and run a bead along the connection, like so, making sure to flood the area so that it joins. Just push it into place with the clippers, like so. And then just use your activator spray just to set it. And then do that for all 4 corners. And with the fence all built, it's time to add a base to it. Now what we're going to use for this is a tongue depressor. And we're going to start by just trimming off one of the rounded ends with a pair of scissors. Now you can use a pair of clippers to do this like we did in last week's video, but I've found since then that using scissors is much easier and you have less of a chance of splitting along the part of the depressor that you want to use. So just cut one end off, take your fence, line it up with the end, and then just mark on the other end where you're going to make your cut, like so. And then cut your depressor, and then you've got your base. Now, with the base all cut out, it's time to glue it down. Now, because you've got mesh on one side of your fence, it's going to be heavier on one side than the other. So if you place it in the middle, there's a chance it'll tip over in the direction of the mesh. So what I prefer to do is mount it towards the back to change the centre of gravity to make it less likely that it's going to flip on itself in the direction of the fencing. So all you need to do for this is just run a bead of PVA glue along the bottom and place it down. Before we do that though, I'm going to show you a little technique to make your wall section look just a little more interesting. For this technique, what you're going to want to do is get yourself a small wire brush. Now you can pick these up in most pound or dollar stores, or places like hardware stores will almost certainly have them. I'll leave a link in the description below to where you can get some online if you can't find them in your local area. All we're going to do is we're just going to scrub the surface of the foam in circle motions, and what that's going to do is going to tear out tiny little pieces and rough up the texture and give us a more interesting texture to work with. So all you do, hold down the foam and just start going in circles, and it creates a random pitted pattern. So just hold the foam like so, and you probably won't be able to see it on the camera. I'll see if I can change the focus here. You can see it. Get it in frame. You see the pitted pattern there on the foam? It just makes it a little more interesting looking. There we go. So just do that on both sides and on the ends. With that concrete texture added in, you can leave it there, or another thing you can do is add some bullet marks and some scratches. To add bullet marks, all we're going to do is we're going to take another barbecue skewer and just put some random holes in, like so. Once we've done that, come back in, place your barbecue skewer in and just roll it around to open up the hole and make it look more like an impact. Like so. Just roll it around in there. And what that'll do is it will create deeper holes that look more like bullet impacts. Just roll it around in all of the holes like that. And then if you want to add an extra layer of detail onto the bullet holes, take a nice sharp craft knife, come in and just make lots of little scores all around the edge. You want to be careful doing this, that you don't tear out any of the foam or tear out too much of the foam, but just make lots of little marks, come back in with your skewer and just poke it in again. What that'll do is make tiny little cracks coming out from your bullet holes. And the final thing that you can do to add detail to the foam is to add some cracks themselves. Don't go overboard with this, it's very easy to do, but I like to do it usually around the corners, and just take your knife and trace a small line. Try and work from edge to edge, because it looks more realistic than the crack stopping in the middle. And then take your skewer and just follow that path. And then, I'm not sure whether you'll be able to see that. Just try bring it up to you. Change the focus. There we are. Just see the cracks I can get it in frame. See the bullet holes and then the crack on the end. So do this as much or as little as you like. I like to add a fair few bullet holes and a few cracks. And then once we've done that, we'll move on to basing. So with the texture added to our concrete, it's time to move on to the basing. All I'm going to do for this is run a bead of PVA glue along the bottom of our fence piece, like so, and just place it along the back edge of the tongue depressor, like so, and then just, if needs be, get something to hold it up, but I don't think we'll need anything here. We should be okay. So just pop it into place and wait for that to dry. While this dries, we'll move on to the next style of fencing. We're going to work on the next two styles at once as they're both very similar. We're going to be building the more heavy duty versions of the standard fencing that include slope tops to add the barbed wire to. Now this first style that we're going to use has a single top piece and is perfect for lighter encampments or light military bases and things like that. The second style has two top pieces and works perfectly for things like military compounds, sort of heavier military compounds, prisons or border fences. To begin with, take a length of 6mm square dowel and cut it into 3 6cm lengths per fence. These are going to form the uprights of our fence posts. Next, you want to take another length, measure 3 cm from the end, like so, and then from that line measure another 6mm, or the width of the dowel that you're using, like so. And then all you want to do is draw a diagonal line connecting those 2 points. So, like so. And then just take a hobby saw and cut that piece out. What you'll be left with is an angled piece like this. Now these angled pieces form the basis of both of these types of fences. To make this Y double style, you'll just take 2 angled pieces and glue them in this orientation to your post. To make this single style, you take one of your pieces, flip it into this orientation, glue it onto your post so you have a little bit hanging off, and then once the glue is dry, just trim that off. So what I'll do now is I'll build up a few of these and show you how to do the next steps. Once your posts are cut and dry, we can glue them onto the base. Now on your template, you'll notice on the base there are 2 different sets of markings. For these single pieces, because the diagonal is only on one side, it makes them quite top heavy. So if you place them in the centre, there's a greater chance that the base is going to flip over. So for these ones, you want to place them on the edge of the base. To make our base, all we're going to do is take a tongue depressor like before, snip the end off, place it down on our template, like so, mark our cut line and trim it out like that, and then what we're going to do is line it up with our markings and just make a few marks along like that so we know where to place our posts. To glue the posts in place, you can either use PVA glue and hold them, or you can use super glue and some activator, which is what we're going to be doing here. If you're going to be using super glue and activator to do this, what I recommend doing is applying a drop of glue to the base and then spraying the bottom of the post with activator, so that when you place it down, the bond sets instantly. Then what I like to do once they're tacked in place is run a bead of super glue around the base of each post and give it a spray with the activator. So run the beads of glue like that, and take your activator and just set it into place. Leave it to dry for a few minutes and then we'll move on to basing. Once your bases are dry, it's time to add the fences themselves, and we'll start with the single style post. We're going to be using the car mesh again to make the fencing for this post. You can use corrugated card or anything you like really, but I think that this particular style looks best with the car mesh. What you want to do is you want to take a ruler and a marker, and you want to measure out a piece of mesh that's 4.5 centimetres tall by 12 centimetres long. You'll notice here that the mesh is larger than the posts, and that's so that you can line up several of these pieces together and have it look like one continuous fence. The way we're going to add the mesh is we're going to place it on the fence like this, add several drops of super glue to each post, and then use our spray activator to tack it in place. So to make it a little easier to glue the mesh into place, what I like to do is take the activator spray it on the post, then run the glue along like so, and then just take a piece of barbecue skewer and just massage the glue into all the little holes. This does two things. It helps spread the glue around so it bonds with the activator and sticks, but it also helps to stop the glue from sticking proud at the front of the fence, which can make the fence look a bit bizarre. So I just run the barbecue skewer back and forth along until the fence is held in place. Greetings folks, Future Anto here. This video ended up a lot longer than I thought it was going to, so I'm going to break it into two parts for you. So to watch part 2, click here. Click right on my hand, right here. Do it.